Hello everyone, it's Silvia from Tarot. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to have a look at the, well, it's kind of a late October monthly wrap-up, but since I will be airing this in mid-November, I thought to myself, okay, well, how about instead of making it a belated October monthly wrap-up, I make it some sort of a highlights for October and in setting the intention for November kind of video. So I just come from a month of really hectic events. Everything has happened all at once. We found a new place to move into. We moved into, and then organizing the move was, well, now that I'm out of the ordeal, to be honest, we're kind of relaxed and we're really happy to be here where we are right now because it's a nice area, it's a big house, and it's got a big backyard for the cats and for us as well, obviously, and it's very quiet. But we've been scammed. We've been victims of a cyber fraud for, you know, when it comes to the removal list, there was a website that was phishing onto a different legitimate website, and thankfully, you know, I had to do all the reporting to the cyber police or cyber fraud department of the police at the federal police and something like that. And what happens is that obviously when something like that happens, you're kind of almost expecting that everything else you do, because we've been very careful. And there was, I can assure you 100%, there was absolutely no way for me to be able to detect or to be, had I been more careful, it would have still happened, okay? So I'm not, I don't feel guilty, it happened, you know, it's one of those things that you need to learn in life, that when you're the victim of a scam, for example, or something like that, of a crime, it's not your fault. Even though immediately someone will start thinking, okay, if I had been more careful, if I had done more research, etc. I've actually been reassured by the lady I spoke to at the police that they're becoming perfect. They are absolutely geniuses when it comes to organizing these kind of frauds online. It's almost become inevitable, to the point that it's just a matter of luck. And so when even the police tells you that, you start thinking that will happen again. It's one of the minor principles of TSD. Basically, you're recalling what happened, and the circumstances are very similar, and that constitutes a trigger. So when I had to when I had to book the cleaners for the end, you know, the moving out, the cleaning, what happened was that it really, all the circumstances were exactly the same. So people ghosting me, not responding, not sending an invoice for the payment. So in Australia, you have to prepay all these kind of services, even the legitimate ones. So there's no way to distinguish them. And, you know, and when the morning came and no one showed up, I was like, okay, I had already the number of the cybercrime on my phone because it had happened. The other thing that happened a couple of weeks before that, so obviously I was like, I was ready. I was, you know, I really thought, okay, this is happening again. It wasn't a crime, it wasn't a scam, it was just a really lazy kind of company that literally just said, we're kind of, yeah, we're sorry, but we're really tired today, so we're not coming. So welcome to Australia. I don't have, honestly, by now my expectations are really low for a number of things, but in any case, we finally found someone really professional, very helpful, that, you know, agreed to come at the last minute, obviously, because it was at the end, we were supposed to give back the keys the day after. And so I had to pay extra, obviously, for the urgent call and everything, but okay. And I can't even say that I learned my lesson, because there was absolutely no way. So all the reviews were fine, everything, but obviously they were fake reviews. But it doesn't take much nowadays to do a fake review. You just create a new account on Gmail and you log into Google and you do a review, obviously. And you can do it as many times as you want because there's no limits to the number of accounts you can have. And then that's something that really scares me. And I don't know if you have had similar experiences, but we're at the point, at least here in Australia, we're at the point in which unfortunately the banks don't refund you the money anymore. So it used to be that there were scams like that was so rare that you actually got the money back, and now they're actually very strict. They're very strict, and it's getting more and more difficult. Even when you have really good banks, really good accounts, you pay really high fees for those accounts. It's still not a guarantee that if you are a victim of a scam, they actually refund you the money. It takes, even if they do, it takes months. So it's very grim, and I don't know whether I honestly didn't start with this video thinking I was going to say these things, but it feels like we are very unsafe. And, you know, because it used to be like in the 80s, for example, when I used to live in Italy, it used to be unsafe being out at night, especially in the mid 80s. And I was too young to be out on my own at night. But I remember hearing stories of girls being assaulted, you know, and that used to be your fear, right? That used to be, okay, don't go out at night. And when I moved to London, it was the same. So there were certain areas of London where, okay, don't go there on your own at night. So that was the fear. That was, you know, what you could protect yourself from, because you were just thinking, okay, well, I'm not going to go out at night and I'm not going to go to those areas. And so you could live your life thinking, okay, now hopefully, you know, touching wood, nothing's going to happen to me if I exercise a certain degree of caution. But now, I mean, you have to book removalists, right? You have to book cleaners, right? You have to do these kind of things. And you are completely defenseless because you cannot tell, you don't know that, you cannot tell if you're going to be scammed or not. So it's not your life that is in danger, but it's just as traumatic. Anyway, so just for you to know, this month has been like that. So I have had a very emotional 31st of October when the veil was really thin. I felt like I needed, and I'm going to be honest 100% with you guys. And I mean, if it sounds like it was very, I don't know, very emotional and kind of sad, it's so be it. This is true. But I have a lot of people that I lost in my life, and obviously this time of the year I feel them very close to me, and it was amazing. And I had a wonderful experience when I was during my practice of, you know, during the thinning of the veil in my practice. I always try and communicate and try and understand the message. And it was a very, very emotional time, because the messages came through as loudest and as clear as they could be. And so that was a very emotional time. So what I did, because they came through to me also, not just during my tarot practice, especially using certain decks, but also through dreams. And so that's one of the reasons why I hesitated filming this video, because it's been a very personal thing. But on the other hand, I also know that we live in that kind of society in which we do look at the people in our lives that we loved and they're not there with us anymore. We look at them for protection more and more these days, because we feel in danger, because we see danger coming towards us. Our human survival instinct is to appeal to what still feels safe. And what still feels safe is definitely that support that can come from either your ancestors or your loved ones that are not there anymore. So all this really long introduction to explain that perhaps this video is going to get very personal, but so be it. Let's have a look at the month of October. In October, I had the possibility to attend the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival in Sydney, which has been a wonderful opportunity to meet up with like-minded spirits you know, and have a look at their great collections of products and also support Australian businesses. And it was a really cool experience. Okay, so an update on reorganizing my collection. I have actually decided to add more shelves in different sizes and different heights, especially to accommodate for the tarot decks that have different heights. So this one, for example, I've put some of the biggest boxes at the back because I can still see them, and then smaller ones at the front. And I've done the same for the second level, only one row of decks on at the bottom, because I'm not entirely sure that if I did put some at the back I would be able to see them. Still gonna use a trolley because at least one or two. These are all tarot decks, by the way. Probably because I really do like the possibility to, you know, spin them around, etc. And this is my filming space. These are the decks that I'm going to reharm soon. These are, well, bags, really. Yeah, filming space, transitioning from Halloween into Christmas, easing my way in, all of the Halloween goodies together. These are so cute. Even together they actually look really, really cute. And by the way, if you live in Australia now, what's it called, the Reject Shop has a sale, and for example stuff like this, the liquid luck, and other stuff like this one, the bat bite blood, the zombie repellent, all of this is 50 cents. So all of these, even these things here, if you can still find them, although there wasn't much stock, but they're 50 cents each, 50 cents Australian each. So it's incredibly affordable. So these are my oracle decks. These ones had to be divided by size mainly, and these are more oracle decks, and these are more oracle decks, and then I'm keeping a trolley for more oracle decks just next to it. So in total just 2 trolleys, but it's really good because trolleys can hold. Now the thing with trolleys is that yes, they can hold up to 90 decks. Obviously more like 90 oracle decks because they are thinner, as you can see, some of them, rather than the standard 78 cards tarot deck. But they become really heavy when you actually fill them up to the brim. They become so heavy that I'm actually worried about scratching the wooden floor, so I am not going to keep them up filled up like that. These are more tarot in the shelves, and then I'm going to use a basket and another basket just to put the ones that I'm currently using. These ones are so, these are all the Scarabell. This one is so tiny that I'm actually worried about losing it if I put it, you know, anywhere in the shelf. So I'm just gonna let it loose like that, always at the forefront so I can see it. These are all my Los Scarabell. These are all the Total Tarot magazine, the ones that I've kept, because I don't keep all of them. More decks. More decks. I've actually applied some scents to it this time. So for example, if I've got the this is the Tarot of the Holy Spectrum, this is the 2nd edition, this is the Infinity edition, so obviously I put them together. And I've done the same with the Saki Saki and the most recent edition. And well, where there was the same author, like the Jonasa House, for example, they're all together. It just makes sense. More decks. More decks. And I have another, no, I don't remember. So I have another couple of boxes still, and then I should be done. But I like it a lot better because this way I'm sitting at my desk or my other desk, and I'm just, you know, rolling my chair close to the decks and I can see them. I have a really good overview. So thank you everyone who gave me advice. That was really helpful, because I think if I had to do a poll, There'll be like 99% of you encouraging me to use the shelves and the trolleys. And that's exactly what I ended up doing. So obviously the trolleys are for the more practical use. So I'm going to store the decks that I'm using currently as opposed to the decks that I'm just happy to see in my collection and having a look at that. But I'm quite happy. So we are now at 429 decks, but I have 2 more boxes. Although I think that those decks, there's a lot of mixed decks. They're not tarot, although I still do count them. So I'm counting 429, that's between tarot decks, oracle decks, Lenormand Keeper, not my playing cards, because I don't think that's, I do use them for divination, but I don't store them together, although I actually probably should start to. But in any case, they're not included, and I don't have that many. But any other kind of divination, you know, for cards, we are there. So there's another box there, and another box downstairs. And in here, just if you were wondering if do I have easy access to that, I do actually, because you know, it opens up quite well like that. And I've got all my Lonely Planet books. Yes, I do travel a lot, like crazy. My husband and I, hi, I'm Silvia. If you've never watched my channel, I'm a travel junkie. There's no other way to say that. And what we do when we travel, we always do research. Like, I don't know, this is just one, these are just a Lonely Planet and a couple of more type of guides. But we have at least another 1 full shelves, the tall ones, downstairs for all the books on the destinations where we're going. And then on top, I've got my tarot books and manuals of the tarots, you know, that I don't keep in a box. So, for example, here we've got we got the Doors of Some Lipith, and now I realize that I don't have the Doors of Some Lipith is a different divination system, and now I realize that I haven't seen it, so hopefully it's in one of those 2 boxes. See, this is an exercise of prolonged exposure to an anxiety and normally anxious situation for me, because when I don't see something, I'm like, I lost it. That's automatically what I do, but hopefully I haven't. So again, thank you so much. This feels a lot more comfortable also for the way in which my brain works. I have slight OCD, even though, you know, this actually makes me feel happy because it looks a lot better. And it's not there yet, we're not there yet, we're not 100% there yet, but we're getting there. So thank you so much. So when it comes to my practice in October, as I explained, I've been working a lot, especially in the second part of the month. I've been working a lot with very moving, what I call very moving, very touching kind of decks. Those are the decks that really put you in touch with, let's say, the part of you that needs a communication, the part of you that needs to be supported, and it opens up the portal for that kind of strength and support and compassion to come to you. So one that was absolutely exquisite to use is the Beloved Dead Oracle. This is the box. It's by Carrie Paris and Tina Hart. So this deck is, well, you'll know Carrie Paris obviously from the Relative Tarot, and the style is very similar, still vintage photography with a little bit of manipulation, obviously. It's an excellent deck when it comes to archetype, to identify, let's say, the one person that is coming through the veil to give you support. And I really enjoyed using this with my conversations, in the sense that I was pulling a card. I'm just pulling this one here, for example. I was pulling a card asking who's there, who's the person that is coming to see me. And these are all the archetypes, and there's heaps. As you can see, it's a chunky deck. What I've done, I actually separated the cards that say Act of Love, because these to me actually in one way signifies a lot more rather than an archetype. So rather than identify someone who's actually be there to support you, it identifies the way in which there is the support, or the support, this act of love actually takes place. So self-care, for example. So I separated the two decks, and I used this one in a spread to identify, you know, who was coming. And then I use different decks to, tarot decks, for example, I use the Hoodoo Tarot. But what I wanted to show you today is the Wisdom of the Elders Oracle, that's by Sean Leonard. This one is one of those decks that is probably underrated. I'm gonna say that because of the, let's say, the simplicity of the art style. As you can see, it's kind of, you know, very, it's beautiful, but by simplicity, I don't mean that there's no effort put in the art style. I simply mean that it's kind of, let's say, with the use of color, there's no shading, for example. The lines and the brush strokes are neat. There's the use of puntillism, for example, which is, well, for us in Australia is very familiar. I don't know if you can tell from the camera. For us in Australia is very familiar because this is an Aboriginal art style. Obviously not just Aboriginal, there's a lot of artists that use this style around the world. And there's a lot of play with the black background and the colors. So one way or another, I have the impression that this deck is kind of probably not has been received the way it should have been. And I'm kind of sorry because this is an incredibly powerful deck. When you use it with, for example, the Gentle Tarot, this deck is at its best. And it's very, very conducive of this kind of work. So when you're working on deciphering, understanding, or, you know, attuning your capabilities to accept and understand the message that is coming to you from your ancestors or from your beloved ones that are not there anymore, what happens is that you actually open your third eye, your intuition. You get back to that sort of sense of knowing things that we all used to have when we were kids, because we were strictly in touch with nature and we hadn't been corrected yet. This one, perhaps that's the reason why the art style feels a little bit childish, and I say that with admiration, not childish. In this case, is not meant to be an insult or a denigration of the work. Is meant to be as in pure and simple. Okay, so the art style is pure and simple because it reminds us of the way in which we could process our oneness with nature when we were children. And this is very effective. It's a very effective deck. So I would pull a card from this deck, and it would be the way in which the message coming from the beloved dead would actually concretize for me. So pipe ceremony, prayer. So I would go to the book, and the book is very good as well. And I would go to number 39, and I would just read, because not all of these, let's say, titles or keywords are immediately understandable. So, and I don't mind actually reading the guidebook. So for prayer, we've got one of the most sacred objects found within the culturally diverse indigenous nations of Turtle Island is the sacred ceremonial pipe. Its most basic form is a simple bowl and stem, which is used in the preparation and smoking of sacred herbs. So as you can see, there's two types of pipe, etc. So in here, you've got a couple of paragraphs where there's the explanation of what you see, what the object or the symbol on the card is. And then obviously you go ahead and it delves more into the meaning of the symbols or the objects. The sacred ceremonial pipe embodies both masculine and feminine energy. So if you have drawn the pipe ceremony card today, you may be called upon to be the instrument of someone else's prayers. Now is time of reconnection to what is important in life and to recognize the value in living a peaceful existence. If you pray in a good and honest way for enlightenment, you will find serenity among the chaos. So this is very conducive of, first of all, journal prompts. So journaling has been very intense, as you can imagine, for me this month because of the practice that I did. And it's also been very creative. For probably the first time in a long time, I actually felt like drawing. I felt like not just writing, not just putting down my thoughts on a blank sheet of paper. I actually got back to my my inks. I have a collection of inks, really beautiful ones, some of them, and I really enjoyed being able to use them again in my journal. And that was something that really gave me, it gave me also some kind of hope, in the sense that when you come from a very bad situation, when you come from let's say we've been robbed, we've been scammed, obviously, or something like that happens in your life, you kind of lose sight of what it feels like to be safe. And so being reminded of an activity that gives you peace, that makes you feel, you know, not just safe, but also loved in some way, gives you an additional power, gives you an additional sustain and support to then face every other problem that it may come your way. So thanks to my practice, I was also able to recuperate some of those creative energies that I used to have and that I didn't have for a long time. And then going back to this kind of practice, what I really enjoyed doing was using the Sacred Nature Oracle. I don't have the box, unfortunately, anymore, because I bought this one in Thailand, and the box is really big, and I just couldn't fit it in my bag. So I just kept the deck and the book. So this is an incredibly beautiful photographic oracle deck. As you can tell, these are studio photos, obviously, because you can tell from the use of the backgrounds and the light and the props and everything. What I really admire about this is the way in which the photographer immortalizes the expressions of the characters in the photos. There is a sense of peace and calm that comes from these photos. Some of them may look a bit odd, for example, but when you understand what the meaning of this deck is, so there's an integration between the plants, for example, and you can tell because there's a title here, so it says fennel, and there's a symbol of fennel, and then there's a keyword, and that keyword is actually reflected, let's say, in the photograph that you see on the cards. So with fennel we got emanation, with yarrow we got alignment. Yarrow keeps on coming back to me. I keep on pulling, whether it's in this deck or any other botanical deck that has the yarrow plant, I keep on pulling yarrow, which is very fun. Okay, jasmine with beauty, and so on. So this deck is really giving you a sense of calm and peace, and I think that that's exactly what we need. So whenever we are pulled in one direction, and that direction is not necessarily a peaceful one, it's not a good direction, you don't just have to stay still. You really need to go back. You need to do a 180 and just go to the other direction. There's no two ways around that. And I was joking about it. Because I was playing a lot of video games this month as well. And I was looking into the, what's it called? I think it was Until Dawn. So I was playing either Until Dawn or The Quarry. I played both of them, and I don't remember when I actually thought about that. So when you play, I think it was Until Dawn. So at a certain point, you have been given so many options, and most of the time when you're under attack, you're given two options, either hide or run. And I just found that every time I was hiding, they found me. Every single time I chose to hide, they actually found me. And I was thinking about every single movie you see, every single piece of literature you read, books or what have you, where everyone says the movement is life. So you need to keep on moving, and everyone refers back to sharks, and sharks have to keep on moving all the time, etc. I tend to agree. If you're, even Winston Churchill, I think it was Winston Churchill that said, if you're going through hell, keep going. So don't just stay there. So what we did, I was kind of paralyzed by fear in many occasions, because when something, when you don't feel safe anymore, you kind of freeze, you feel like you don't know what to do, you don't know where to go. So it's kind of obvious that your reaction will be to just drop everything and curl up in a ball. But that's not gonna solve anything. So you need to keep on moving, and that's what I've done. So I got out of that moment of being frozen, thankfully. And I really have to say that I owe it to my tarot practice, my tarot and oracle practice, because, pulling cards from this deck, for example, or also getting in touch with my beloved deads, for example, thanks to this deck, or having a look at what the wisdom of the elders oracle was telling me, that was extremely helpful. It's been a tough month for many other reasons. If you watch my videos, you will know that I had a really horrible experience when it comes to mental health, and that was really horrible, and everything happened at once. And so these kind of things are obviously quite, when they accumulate, you don't have enough energies to face the new challenge, because you're still trying to get over the last one. So when everything happened at once, it gets even harder to get out of that kind of spiral. And that's something that I always tell my clients, for example, when we're doing this kind of work, when we're doing healing work, for example, out of the convictions that you have, that you're not good enough, that you're not gonna be okay, that things gonna fall apart and everything. What I always do is, okay, well, you're saying this because of this and this and this and this event, so let's just take one thing at a time, and then recuperate your energy as soon as you can, and then you can face the second thing, and then the third one, and the fourth one, etc. But it's difficult to do it when you're the one that has to, go through this kind of procedure or processing. So last but not least, what I've done was to, as I was saying before, the messages from the beloved dead came through in my dreams as well. And that's why I really enjoyed using this deck, which is the Lucid Dreaming, Lucid Living Oracle. This is the box, a really big box. Norma J. Burton, Nisha Burton. Your Oracle and Guide to Mastering the Dreamscape. Now, I want to be specific. This is not a dream interpretation deck. I originally thought it would have been, and I have other decks that actually can do that kind of function. This is not for your actual dreams. This is for lucid dreaming. This is for lucid dreams. So what does that mean? It means that you bring yourself through several techniques into a state of meditation that is very similar to a trance state. You re-evoke certain, let's say, certain thoughts or certain visual, you visualize certain situations that you want to process. And lucid dreaming helps you find your path to a solution, find your own unique path through a solution. So it's basically, it's as if, but it's just a very kind of vanilla, example, but it's as if you were able, whilst you're dreaming, to actually take conscious decision, decide what you want to do while knowing you're dreaming. I don't know if it ever happened to you. When I started using this deck, I actually had that occurring to me a couple of times when I realized in a dream that I was dreaming. Generally speaking, before using this deck, I actually, whenever I realize that I'm dreaming, I wake up. It's because the consciousness arrives back to the body and the body wakes up. But ever since I started using this, that lag, that few seconds, actually has been longer and longer, and I have been able to do and say certain things consciously. So I was making actual conscious decision. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it. So this deck is, apart from the fact that it's actually really beautiful, I actually very much like it. This works really well with the Radiant Wilds Tarot, for example, with the Serpent Fire, with the She-Wolf, but also with the Moonchild or the Star Child. What other, I don't have any other example on the tip of my tongues, but in any case, it does, as you can tell, it does have that kind of style where it's a photo collage. It feels very cosmic, obviously, but I highly recommend it also because, or thanks to the book. So whenever you pull a card, or you can actually use the book as a study book or a reading material. It is very interesting to actually follow the procedure on how to use the cards as it is explained here. And it's very, very interesting. It's almost as if it were giving you back the possibility to regain consciousness on your choices. And that's one of the things that you experience when you're a victim of a scam, for example. And please understand, I want to be very clear on this point. I work with people that have been going through domestic violence, for example. So I am not comparing what happened to me to what happens to these persons. Absolutely not. Of course, anything involving, for example, domestic violence is a million times more destroying, let's say, than what happened to us. But if you have ever done any type of therapy, you will know, if you had a good therapist, you will remember that the first thing they tell you is that it's not the entity of what happens to you, it's the impact of what happened to you has on your sense of safety, your sense of security. If you don't feel safe where you live anymore, you do have, unfortunately, as a consequence, you develop a sort of insecurity, your confidence goes, to hell, and it's very difficult to get out of that spiral, even because, in many cases, because these are minor incidents, minor crimes, etc., you tend not to heal or tend not to, let's say, do anything for healing. You tend not to look for a way to feel better. You tend to think, I'm gonna get over it. And that is not the case, unfortunately, because when they accumulate in time and in number, they actually have a very profound impact on yourself, especially on your confidence. If you don't feel safe at home, that is when you really need to do a lot of work. You just have to. Because that doesn't go away. If you don't do something about that, that doesn't go away. I can assure you 100%. So even though I'm not comparing my bad experience with somebody else's bad experience, I'm just saying that I also needed to do some work on myself. And I'm just putting it out there. If any of you has gone through something similar, a cyber fraud or, something like that, I am telling you, you need to do something to heal that. That needs healing as well. I know it doesn't sound like it. Of course, there's a million things much worse than that in life, but that doesn't mean that doesn't need healing. That's what I'm gonna say. So these are the decks that I used, especially I noticed, the book of the Wisdom of the Elders Oracle and the book of the Lucid Dreaming Oracle were extremely important, extremely useful. The Beloved Dead Oracle really helped me get in touch and feel supported. And the Sacred Nature is a very calming deck. I mean, look at this card. There is so much peace and calm and acceptance in the faces of the characters portrayed in the cards. But let's have a look at something else. But October has also been the month of Halloween, so obviously there was also that whimsical part to the month that I actually really enjoyed. And in my case, I have bought a number of skulls that are now really proudly displayed on my collection. And it was really so much fun, especially at the reject shop. it was just, you know, almost every week I was going there and buying $40-50 worth of Halloween stuff, which, you know, in my case, I'm actually going to use the year round, because I believe that there should be a certain amount of skulls in your life, even if it's May, for example. But with Halloween, I also posted a video that was referring to spooky pairs. So my October favorite pairs video, my usual monthly pairing video, was actually concentrated on spooky pairs. And, you know, a lot of people said that the best one they never seen before was the Zombie Tarot paired up with the Southern Gothic Oracle. And that was lots and lots of fun for me too, because I don't know if you know both these decks. I think that the Zombie Tarot is rather famous. I mean, it is a mass market deck, it's very affordable, and it is one of those decks that combines very good reading, you know, symbolism and depictions on the cards with a really dry sense of humor. And it's one of those decks that will make you chuckle but also think, you know, when you're actually using it. And I paired it up with the Southern Gothic Oracle, which I actually have purchased together with the Haunted expansion pack. So what will happen would be that you will have, obviously I'm just gonna level it. So you will have, for example, a few cards that do not have the number on top. So these cards are part of the standard deck, let's say. And this one, for example, because as you can notice, it doesn't have a number at the top, it's because it's coming from the Haunted expansion pack. And so every card that is coming from the Haunted expansion pack would be referring back to a, let's say, well, a haunted theme, as you can imagine. So very much in line with what we expect, you know, from a spooky pair. And these two work really well together. There's just, I really enjoyed this. It's not just because they share a similar color palette. They share, obviously, this kind of thematic of the, you know, whimsical approach to the horror. But it's also because, you know, they have a similar setup with these borders, for example. And I just really enjoy these two together. They also gave me really good messages, something to think about, you know, not just to have a chuckle, but literally to just, you know, reflect on whatever it was, you know, given as a message to me. So this one was the funniest thing, the funniest pairing of the spooky pairs video. But what happened in October was also that I launched a tag, a VR with the tag Beloved Monsters Decks, and that was picked up by a lot of you, and thank you so much, because it was so wonderful to see my tag being picked up and see your own choices for the prompts. And it was eventually picked up also by the 3 Fat Readers, and it was a really funny way to get in touch with the community, you know, being there. And I was there during the live, so even though it was 3:30 a.m. for me, it was really so much fun to be able to be in touch with you guys and see Lisa, Danny and Dustin's choices for these prompts that I created. It was really so much fun. So it was probably the highlight of October for me, absolutely, the Beloved Monsters decks. That was really one of the happiest moments that I've had. And now when it comes to my intention for November, one important thing is to notice that because the last part of October has been rather daunting, let's say, to say the least, with all the moving and the, you know, the harsh confrontation with the present reality, which is not entirely safe anymore. I actually was very pleased to receive a present, a gift from a dear friend in the tarot community here in Australia, and which is this deck is the Tarot Landscapes. So this deck has been edited by Francesca Matteoni. You know her from the Oracle of the Novice Witches, for example. And I know that she's authored another oracle which is called Shamans of the World. And it hasn't been I don't think it's been released yet, so I was looking at the Italian version, but don't worry, it will be translated, or it has already been translated in English. It's just that I don't know for sure whether it's been released in English yet. The illustrations are by Yoshimari, and it's just one of those decks, you know, once in a lifetime, no, probably more than once in a lifetime, but once every now and then you get to know a deck, and you know, it comes into your life, and it's just one of those things, and it's so beautiful, and it's almost as if it were, you know, erasing, cancelling out all the negative feelings that you know, are brought upon by different experience. This deck is simply wonderful. Not just the artwork, not just the intention behind the cards. You know, whatever is depicted in these cards, it's obviously taken, it's called Tarot Landscapes, and the intention behind the deck is to depict, is to show landscape from all over the world. So you can tell, for example, we've got Australia here, and it's just really amazing. It is a very tender kind of deck, but don't get me wrong, it's not a hard deck. It's a very intense deck. It is very deep as well. And what I'm going to do, I think, I don't know, maybe next week or something, I'm going to post a November pairings, my favorite pairings for November video. And this will be one of the decks that I will show you with a few pairings, because some of these cards are absolutely so beautiful. And it's also because it really brings me back to a lot of memories. This is in I think this is in Flores, which is an island in Indonesia, if I'm not wrong, because I've been, you know that I travel a lot, and this is in Scotland, for example, one of the islands north from the Isle of Skye. So being able to recognize some of these spots is wonderful for me as well. This is obviously Antarctica, it could also be the Arctic. And I just, for each and every card I have, because I travel so much, I love to think that for each and every card I have a memory. And it's just one of those decks. It keeps on giving every time I use it. It's something, you know, more added to the admiration that I have to this deck, for this deck. So I am so very grateful to this gift, for this gift. And I am so happy to be able to use this deck in my practice of November, because it is really helping me get out of that sense of insecurity and being not safe, and it's giving me, you know, the power of looking at brighter colors and the possibility to feel like, you know, things are going back to be safe again. Don't get me wrong, I'm not just fooling myself. Of course, you know, the threat is always there, and of course, if these scams don't cease to happen, they would just perpetrate for infinity, and they will get better and better. And it's not something that I don't believe that there are enough funds. For example, at least here in Australia, in Europe, I know that there's a lot of thanks to the GDPR. Is it GDPR? I don't remember, or GPDR, GDPR I think it's called. There's a lot of legislation in Italy referring back to privacy and the use of personal data, which we don't have, or we have in a different way, let's say here. And I'm not even sure, you know, how much of, because obviously I had to fill in my credit card details and everything. And now, you know, I'm thinking, do I need to block my card? Do I need to replace it, etc.? So obviously, you don't feel safe in a world that can do these kind of things to you. But my intention and my focus for the month of November will be on, you know, at least bring myself up to speed, to these possibilities and being aware of the fact that there are threats around. And I know that I sound very naive, and probably you're all going, oh, come on, everyone knows about cyber fraud and everything. I did know about cyber fraud. And, whenever I receive a message, oh, your parcel hasn't been delivered, click on this because you need to pay for a fee. Click on this link and pay the additional fee. I don't do that. So I don't fall for these kind of things. I'm generally pretty savvy, but I have the impression that at a certain point you are vulnerable to these kind of scams and you fall for one. You do. It's almost inevitable. Unless you live in an island and you're completely off the grid, it's impossible not to. And so, my intention is not to say I want to step away from a world like that, because this is the world nowadays. And so my intention is to say I want to find enough energy and comfort that even though I still live in this kind of world, I also have the courage to look at something beautiful in this world. So it's not just a world of scam and unsafety. It's also a world of fireworks. It's also a world of nature. It's also a world of, being grounded and reestablishing your connection with everything else that is in your path. So that was, let's say, one of the decks that I'm going to use in the month of November, that I'm currently using because we are in November. Let's have a look at another couple of decks. So two decks that have rather recently entered my collection. Well, this one not very recently, but this one did. So it's the Deep Place Oracle by Ray Serafina Barker. And I'm thinking about pairing it up. I haven't started working with these two yet, but I think I'm going to pair it up with the Star Child Tarot by Danielle Noel. And these two, the reason why I think they will pair up well, even though I haven't tried yet, and this is literally just spur of the moment, or rather, the plan that I have for November, but I haven't really tested it out yet. So it could be a complete flop, but let's have a look. So this deck, the Deep Place, is very beautiful. It's got, it's also a photographic collage kind of deck. Let's level it out. But it is very deep. Well, it says so in the name, but it's also because the feeling that it gives you, the energy, the vibe of these two should be similar. As I said, I haven't tried them together yet, but it looks to me like they are very similar. There's also the same kind of, in this case, for example, we have the character turning back and looking through, breaking the fourth wall, looking at us in both of these cards, which is very interesting. So I like it when decks actually have this kind of resonances. I think that it's a deck's way to let you know that they're happy to be paired up together, when they, they cannot communicate that in any other way. It's the way in which they convey the energy that they're giving to you that shows you that it actually works. It works. It is working with the other deck together. So we've got, Earth between two crystals, and crystal is the suit of Earth. Again, there are these similarities. I really like, I think that the style of the photography is very similar. The style of the collage is also very similar. It's got a lot of very similar kind of elements as well. As above, so below, with the High Priestess is perfect. It's just simply perfect. So I think that they pair really well. What do you think? Let me know. If you have this Deep Place Oracle, I'm pretty sure that most of you will have the Star Child, or at least the Moon Child, or Tarot. Between the two, I actually prefer the Akashic version of the Star Child, which is this one, because it's standard tarot size, as opposed to being the rather large Moon Child, for example. And I also prefer the tones and the vibe of the Star Child. For me, it's more, the Moon Child feels a bit too ethereal for me, a bit too perfect, whereas the Star Child still looks into the both sides of, let's say, of the coin. So it also looks at the so below, not just as above. So it really feels like these two are communicating together, and they're giving you that kind of possibility to build your message, to understand your message. We've got possibility between the Four of Crystals and the Page of Crystals. Again, that possibility, you know, when you're trending down, when you're trying to consolidate on your resources, for example, you're renouncing all the possibilities that have developed in front of you. So perhaps this is an invitation to look outside of that cave in which you're storing all your resources. Just go out again and look at what's in front of you, because there is an open space, and you kind of need to become an apprentice again, you know, to be able to take advantage of that possibility. And you've got this voyage with the Seven of Wands and the Six of Wands. Again, it's really showing you the possibility to improve and going from perhaps sticking to your gun. Let's be there, because hanging there, because there will be this kind of transformation in which you will actually find victory through the help of a team, because you're not on... You're on your own on the Seven of Wands, but on the Six of Wands, you're actually surrounded by the team that eventually helps you to conquer the crown. Echo between the Two of Crystals and the Star. The waters between the Two of Wands and the Five of Wands. And just another one, fullness between the Page of Swords and the Lovers. So I honestly think that these two actually work together. So I'm looking forward to using these two for that kind of meditation space that I need to be in my month of November. So that was it for today, but I do have a kind of a let's say a sneak peek announcement, in the sense that I will post within the next week the date in which I will start activating my membership. So if you want to, I will actually put the link here for the video where I explain all the benefits related to the 3 tiers of the membership. And because now, you know, I finally settled down in a new place, and I do have a lot more time available to develop the program that I want to activate. And so I'm so very excited, because it will be let's say an adventure for both myself and all of you who will want to subscribe. And also it will be something that will grow with time, because I really have the impression that I have so many ideas, but for now I have to start with only a few things. Because obviously I don't know who will join. I hope there will be as many as you want, because it would be really nice to have these opportunities to form meaningful connections, you know, in this environment, in this community. But I have the impression that, you know, it's kind of something that mirrors my practice as well. So whenever I start with too many ideas, then I end up actually doing less. So I'm gonna start with all the benefits that I explain in the video that I will link here. And then we can also look into the possibility to expand in the program, and that will come from you. So if you have requests, for example, about something that you would like to do on a weekly, monthly, I don't know, 6 monthly basis, then let me know, because I will be more than happy to do that. And so just keep an eye on my community tab, because it will be a post in there, and then I will keep repeating this at the end of, even at the beginning of the videos, because I realize that I don't have the same audience at the end of a video that I have at the beginning of the video. But in any case, thank you so much for staying with me till the end of this video. Much more to come. Have a great day.